We are at the Skyview Motorsports desk. I'm Roy Jakers. With me, Bob Francis of GoFullThrottle.net and also Steve Schweitzer of thelascopress.com. These are my NASCAR insiders. And fellas, Dover was quite an entertaining race this weekend. And tell you what, if you were a driver for one of the two major teams, I think you really liked how everything came out, except for William Byron. Steve?
Yeah, it was a great race. A lot of pit strategy, that I think really kind of threw a wrench into the works for some teams. But that's good. A lot of excitement.
Bob?
Yeah, congrats to NASCAR. I think it would have been tempting to just, when that rain delay hit, and no lights at the track, it would have been tempting to just call the race, but I'm glad they stuck it out. They got that final segment in, and boy, a double overtime, nothing is better than a double overtime back-to-back restarts and let these best drivers in the world battle it out. Roy, I thought that ending was fantastic, and Steve, boy, I was sitting to have my best day ever in fantasy racing points wise until Byron got taken out in that closing crash there. That sort of tanked my high points for the day. But boy, that was a fantastic event.
Yeah, and Christopher Bell as well. That kind of hurt a little bit. But, a lot of good things happened in this race. I think Chase Elliott leading 238 of the 400 laps was fantastic. And it goes to show you that 3 or 4 seconds over a 3-hour race can absolutely kill you, because Chase Elliott was never a factor. He got back in the mix, but he just couldn't overtake Christopher Bell, who eventually spun out, and of course Denny Hamlin, and also in there as well. Your big pick last week, Steve, you had Chase Briscoe. He finished second in the race, but Elliott was fantastic. Hamlin was fantastic, and it was just a really terrific treat to watch that race all last Sunday afternoon. Anybody?
Yeah, we've talked about this several times on our podcast. This next gen car, really seems to eat up clean air, and when you're out front, it's a huge advantage. And you were talking about Chase not being able to get back to the way he looked early in the race. He couldn't get back to the front. And that is, track position is so important. I thought it was a bad call when they brought him in for tires late.
How about you, Bob?
Well, I was really watching Kyle Larson, who, has hit and miss the last really month or so. But I sense a pattern, and I track this data very closely. And when Larson goes sprint car racing and puts a big W on the board, he won the Joker's jackpot in the High Limit Racing Series earlier in the week.
Yeah.
And then came into Dover, a setback for sure with the rain washing out practice and qualifying because of the incident at the end of the previous week at Sonoma. Larson started Dover from the 25th spot, but tactically with Cliff Daniels, they worked their way, they had their strategy, they got to the front, they were competing up front, and ended up with a top 5 finish. That was sort of the Larson I was looking to see back as a competitor, competing for the win at the front of the race after some difficult weeks. And as a sprint car guy, I'm always going to go back to that momentum thing coming off the big win in the high limit sprint car series.
How did you gentlemen feel about the super teams running out front? I mean, Hendrick had 4 of the top 6 or 7 cars until the Byron wrecked late. And then, of course, you had the Joe Gibbs Racing in there as well. Does that sit well with fans, or does it even matter?
Go ahead, Bob.
Well, I'm going to take the inverse of that, Roy, because I think I was really looking for the Penske Fords and maybe the RFK Fords, especially Chris Buescher, to break through that trend and really see those Fords start being competitive, to give Hendrick and to give the Gibbs cars a real challenge up there. But it just never really happened. I mean, Blaney fought his way through the field. That was impressive. that
Yeah.
showed me that maybe they're starting to get a handle on that track. But statistically, it is Hendrick and it is Joe Gibbs Racing, and that seemed to be who occupied top 10 most of the day.
Yeah, I think when it comes to fans, I think they concentrate more on individual drivers than they do on teams. You could have somebody that loves Kyle Larson and absolutely hates Alex Bowman. I think there's still some brand loyalty left amongst fans in the sport, but I think if you took a survey of them walking through the gate, they would be real clear about who their favorite in the race was.
And with that, Denny Hamlin is the back-to-back champion. He won in the spring of 2024. It was a very mild day that day, but it was even hotter. And you saw people trying to fry eggs on the racetrack. They had these little thermometer things that you saw in the pits for TNT. And I mean, nothing really worked, but I had to take the word that it was 140 degrees. Denny Hamlin, you are waiting in the wings, and you can hardly wait to tell us, I'm sure, about your victory and how hot it was out in the car. What were you doing to deal with the elements out there? Because it was brutal. You did not wear one of those cool suits where everybody else had one. Take us through that whole scenario.
Yeah, it was just different. I mean, this is one of the more physical demanding racetracks that we go to anyway. It's certainly in the top, I think, 3. Just simply because of the G-forces that it has. You don't have long straightaways to take breaks. When I say take breaks, typically drivers like to relax their body, or you should relax your body on the straightaways to then, not fatigue all your muscles during the course of a 3.5-hour race. So there's just not a lot of time to do that at this track. And with it being hotter, it's just, you're going to be more dehydrated. You're going to have to take in more fluids. You're going to have sweat dripping in your eyes. I mean, there was many times I had to clean off my eyes because I got sweat dripping down through my visor. So it was one of the hotter races that we've had this season, and what we've had in a while. But really, I felt fine all day long. It's just the hottest it was is when we went back racing. The car heat soaking on pit road there. The car was way hotter once we got back in with 13 laps to go than it was when we were running all day long. So, just not having that wind running through the car and cooling it, it was an oven.
Our family stories are your family stories, except with more confetti.
Relive racing history with a walk along Glory Road, or try your hand at our fan favorite racing simulator or pit crew challenge. Feel the passion and thrill of racing with stories and artifacts from the legends who shaped the sport in the Hall of Honor and Heritage Speedway.
Visit the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte for the ultimate outing. NASCAR Hall of Fame, this is our sport. This is our house.
When you heard Denny Hamlin, he was talking about wiping his brow multiple times. It was really hot. He did want some cool water and some ice cubes, but that just evaporated in seconds. I'll tell you what, can you imagine you and I going out on the interstate in one of those NASCAR outfits, because they are not comfortable in the least, and driving out there in traffic, having it be 140 degrees potentially in your vehicle, and you don't have you have a little bit of air going through your window, but no air conditioning's running through your car. Is anybody going to put up with that? Because these guys do for 3 and 4 hours every Sunday.
Well, Roy, I look back to, there was this sort of shift that happened a few years ago when Jimmy Johnson really was on his streak, the 7 championships. But one thing many analysts noted was, boy, that guy super disciplined about his fitness regimen. And I think that's part of the story here, and why we see when 2311 built their new facility, when Toyota invested so much in these training gyms and facilities for the drivers to go work on their fitness level, because it's days like that, like Sunday at Dover, when it's unbearably hot, that fitness level really pays off. They're trained about hydration. They're trained about hydrating the day before. so that they enter the race, ready and prepared for those conditions. But it's also what they do during the race, as Denny just noted, to try to deal with the heat.
Yeah, that's a great point, Bob, because I'll tell you, some of these social media scoffers, they need to get in the car, okay, and experience just what's going on inside that machine. They say, well, they're not athletes. They just get in the car and drive. It ain't that way anymore, let me tell you. These guys go through rigorous training to prepare themselves to be fit to last 3-4 hours in the kind of environment that exists in those cars. So I give them guys a lot of credit. I can't ride with the windows down and the AC off.
There you go. Well, we're going to pick this up in 30 as we are going to move on to Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Brickyard 400 as the drivers return to the famed oval at the Brickyard. So we'll have that for you next. With us, Bob Francis of GoFullThrottle.net and Steve Schweitzer of TheLascoPress.com, our NASCAR insiders. We talked about Dover. We now move to Indianapolis this weekend. There's only 5 races left in the regular season. It's going to be quite the battle, gentlemen. What says you?
Well, I'm looking at the initial data output from NASCAR, Roy, and everybody in the Kyle Busch camp, the Rowdy Nation, as he likes to call it, they keep anticipating, boy, is this the week? Is this the week? Well, when the initial driver ratings came out for Indy, Kyle has 17 races there, 2 poles, 2 wins, 5 top 5s, 12 top 10s, and has the highest driver rating at a 102.6. So if we look at the data, statistically, I think a lot of people are going to be looking at RCR this week and can they prepare a car that is going to perform to Kyle's liking on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
That's an interesting one. I'm not sure after last week that I would put Kyle Busch in my fantasy team. He and the team had a bit of a rough go on a track that they traditionally do well at. But I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Ty Gibbs is going to be somebody who we see out front a lot this weekend.
Yeah, in preparing for today's Zoomcast, I took a look at the 2020 Brickyard. Denny Hamlin was leading late in the race. He was in contention for the win. And what happened what you hear that the Kyle Petty and Dale Jr. talking about is how abrasive the track is for the Goodyear tire package. And so many cars went into the wall when the right front literally exploded. I mean, you saw flames come out of multiple cars, including Denny Hamlin, who looked like he had a shot at the victory. And that was really a tough thing in that particular race. So to me, is tire wear, is that going to be a factor this weekend, you think?
Absolutely. I think that's something that the fans should watch for, because Goodyear's bringing a little different compound to the track this year. And because the drivers have asked that they have a tire that they can slide a little bit with, work a little bit with, and so going to be interesting to see just exactly what comes out of that. But just like Bristol, last year when tire wear looked pretty excessive, the teams, they all got together and put their engineers to work, adjusted the tire pressures, and came up with a scenario that in the second stage and in the final stage proved to be workable for them. So there'll be a lot of the behind the scenes activity with Goodyear in regard to that this weekend, I'm sure.
Yeah, Roy, I think that Steve's point is spot on. And I would add to that, this is also a track that has been analyzed and laser scanned by so many different organizations. It's one of the top games in the iRacing community. So I'm thinking about a Ty Gibbs. I'm thinking about a William Byron. I'm thinking about that generation of our current crop of Cup drivers who do enjoy and spend as much time in the simulator as they possibly can to try to get a feel for the upcoming race. So, maybe this is, to Steve's prediction, maybe this is the week that Ty Gibbs has that breakthrough moment. But I know the engineering team at Hendrick, with all of their success on that track, I think that we're going to see the inverse William Byron here, where it ended all bad last Sunday at Dover. I look for Byron to be a major contender up front and really leveraging the simulator this week in preparation.
And so with that, a couple drivers, now with the next gen era, I know that the stats, we're going to talk fantasy more on the weekend, gentlemen, but just a couple things before they made the split. Eric Jones is not done. You talk about who's hot, who's not. Eric Jones has not done well at Indy. He has an average finish of nearly 27th. Tyler Reddick has been in the top 10 in both of his appearances at the track, including he won a pole, before they made the switch back over from the Roval. And so there's a couple guys, but here's the big thing. I don't know if it's going to be a veteran type thing, but I do know this. Denny Hamlin badly wants to win this race, and so does Joey Logano. Joey, Roger Penske, your boss, not only owns your team and owns a team in IndyCar, but he owns the Speedway. How badly do you want to see a victory trophy go in your pocket and for the Penske organization?
Yeah, that's the one that definitely stands out to me. That is the number one race on the list to want to win, just because it's Indy. Right, the history, how iconic that speedway is. The dream of kissing the bricks is a real dream, right? That's the real thing for me. I would love to be, in that position someday, and been close many times. Obviously, Roger Penske now owning the racetrack and being my boss adds more to it, but it was there before that, right? Like that racetrack holds enough prestige, then that it doesn't matter who you are and who you drive for. You want to win that race, and you want to go in the history books as a Indianapolis winner in anything. So yeah, that one would be special. I was up there a few weeks ago and got to go through the museum. By the way, sidebar here: if anyone's going to Indy, make some time to go through the museum that's been renovated. It is absolutely incredible. It's the best motorsports museum I've ever seen. It is done to the T, just the way you would think Roger Penske does things. It is spectacular. So if you're there, do that. You won't regret it. But yeah, winning there would be even better than that.
Steve and Roy, I agree with that. I think that perspective is key here. With seating for 230,000. The view from television is always going to look like, wow, there's not many people there, just because there are so many seats in those grandstands. So even if NASCAR brought 100,000 back to the track, it's still going to be half full. So we have to just note that perspective right there. But what's going to draw the fans back in is great racing. So as Steve noted, if we continue to work with the Goodyear engineers and solve some of those tire issues, and we don't have mysterious right front blowouts sending cars into the wall, and it leads to more competitive battles, especially, there's 5 races left, guys. There are drivers on the bubble, like a Ryan Preece, like a Bubba Wallace. It's go time. They have to put it all out there. If you're waiting for a chance for a drafting track like the last race of the regular season at Daytona, I'm not sure I agree with that strategy. This is an opportunity at Indianapolis to have a win at the most prestigious track on the circuit and get yourself locked into the playoffs. I think everybody's putting all their cards on the table this week.
With us, Bob Francis of GoFullThrottle.net and Steve Schweitzer of thelascalpress.com, our NASCAR insiders.
I say that because I'm old. By the way, that's the 53rd career win for Kevin Harvick. He's now just 1 win away from tying Lee Petty for 11th all-time in wins. What a season Kevin Harvick is having.